Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this channel is dedicated to those of you that are just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover, in the hopes that I'll share with you some of the techniques and tips and tricks that I use every day in my own voiceover business. So today's video is going to be about is really addressing another question that I get quite often, and that is about freelance marketplaces and the amount of time that it takes sometimes in order for you to find business or to have clients find you on Fiverr and Upwork, for example. I promote these sites heavily because that is where I have personally found a lot of success, namely Fiverr and Upwork and ACX for that matter. But in terms of the freelance marketplaces, Fiverr and Upwork, most of the people that I work with are telling me, well, some of them are finding business already, and some are taking a little bit longer to have an order placed. And what I wanted to say to that is that everybody's experience will be different with Fiverr and Upwork. It took probably a good month for me before anyone found me and placed an order. And in the beginning, admittedly, my samples weren't that great. You know, the samples of my voiceovers on my Fiverr gigs were not the best. And as we go along and we get, we do more practicing with different types of voiceovers and we hone our skills with our editing, you can update your samples. You can go through Fiverr and, for example, and look at what some of the other users are doing with their gigs in terms of their titles, read through their descriptions, scroll all the way down to the bottom and see what tags they're using, the keyword tags. Look at their prices, see what they're offering, what dollar amounts per how many words and how many days to deliver and how many revisions. Do your own research when it comes to designing your gig, because what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. I would highly recommend using, for your title, using something that describes your voice, some sort of a dynamic adjective that describes what your voice sounds like to give them an idea. And also for me, personal opinion, because I am an avid book reader, and a lot of the decision making for me when it comes to choosing a new book is the cover. The cover is one of the first things that I see, or even when I am looking for someone on Fiverr to hire for a job that I need done. The first thing that I'm going to see and that I take note of is the cover or the thumbnail, right? Your thumbnail has to be clean looking. It has to be eye-catching, and each one of your gigs needs to have a different thumbnail. So with your 7 gigs that you have in the very beginning, use one of your gigs as a beta test. Have one thumbnail for your main gig and then try a different type of thumbnail for another gig. And then once you discover which one seems to be working better to give you better clicks, if you're getting more clicks on one thumbnail versus the other, then more people are clicking on that gig more than likely because of that thumbnail, right? If your pricing structure is the same and your titles are pretty close, that's probably what it's going to be, is your thumbnail that they're clicking on. So at that point, consider changing all of your gigs to have that same sort of format. Now, again, all your thumbnails need to be different from gig to gig to gig, but they can have the same format for branding purposes, right? So if someone is scrolling through, hundreds of different voiceover artists and they see yours, it's recognizable. It'll have a different color, maybe a different, the title will be different, of course. There will be subtle differences, but the overall format will be the same from gig to gig to gig. But you can use one of the gigs that you have to do some beta testing with. And I've had a few people say to me that their gig has been live for a couple of weeks or a month even, and they're not still getting the impressions or the clicks or even orders that they would like. It does take tweaking. It does take time. The algorithm still needs to work its magic. But what has really helped me was looking at other users and what they had to offer. Find the top-rated sellers and see how they're formatting their gigs. What do their thumbnails look like? What is their pricing structure? What kind of titles and keywords do they use in their gigs, right? And it's not that the algorithm puts all of the top-rated sellers towards the top, because that's not always true. If you go to Fiverr right now and refresh the page several times, you're going to see that a lot of the gigs or the users will shift places on the page. Yes, the top-rated sellers are the people that get more orders more often will probably be closer to the front few pages, because if they're selling well, then Fiverr is going to promote them more. But you will see that the positions will shift on the page, because Fiverr also wants to give the new users an equal shot at being seen. But if you're using a commonly searched keyword or a commonly searched phrase, like the top-rated sellers, right? The closer you are to the top page, to page 1, towards the top of the page. And these will change as the trends change, right? So that is why it is so important to go through Fiverr every once in a while and see what the trends are. See what titles are being used. Again, what keywords are being used. Because what I recommend today may not be the case tomorrow or a week from now, right? Trends are going to change. What people are searching for are going to change. So you have to do your part in keeping up with those trends and changes. But that is what we can do to keep us closer to page 1 and being seen more often. And another thing that I'm asked quite a bit in respect to not getting orders is, should I change? Should I update my thumbnail? Should I update my tags and titles? And absolutely. I would say definitely every time you make a change, give the algorithm a little bit of time to work for you and to put you closer to page 1 and have people find you. Watch your impressions, watch your clicks, and gauge from there if people are seeing you. And if you're not getting the impressions, if your impressions aren't going up, then consider changing your title or your keywords or even your pricing structure. And that might help you get closer to page 1. But if your impressions are going up, don't touch it. Leave it alone, right? If your clicks are going up, definitely don't touch it, because something is working. They're finding you and they're liking you. They're looking at your gig. An impression is how many times that you are seen on a page. Your clicks are how many times someone actually clicks on your gig. So you can tell by your impressions and your clicks what is working and what is not working. But if everything is trending up, if your impressions are trending up, your clicks are trending up, then something is working. I would not touch that gig. But if everything, again, is going down, then you might want to consider changing your thumbnail, changing your pricing structure, updating your title, updating your keyword tags. If you make a change on Monday, don't expect something to explode by Tuesday. I've actually had that happen where I've changed my title and then I had a spike in orders right afterward, maybe within an hour, and then it died down again. It's really hard to say because no one really understands how Fiverr's algorithm works. I can only tell you my perspective from my experience. So if you're not getting orders and your impressions are tanking, why not do a complete overhaul, Change the title completely, change your tags completely, change your pricing format, and update your samples, update your video, update your thumbnail. What do you have to lose, right? But if you have one gig that's doing really well and the others are tanking, then change the other ones, but leave the one that's doing well alone. don't touch it, right? It's not broken, it's working, leave it alone. But use the other gigs that you have at your disposal to do some beta testing. Try a couple of different thumbnails, try a couple of different samples. Speaking of samples, I would definitely update those as you get better and better with your practicing and your editing skills, right? Anytime you have a change in recording environment, definitely update your samples. As we go along, we learn more and more techniques to not only in mic positioning, but recording space, sound, editing skills. All of that stuff gets better and better and better as we go. And you definitely want to update your samples from time to time. I would definitely do that. And I know I kind of went 50 different directions with this video, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't lose hope. Don't give up on Fiverr. There are a lot of people making very good living with the income from Fiverr, and not just in voiceover, but with many different skill sets. But for voiceover, there are people making 6 figures a year in voiceover on Fiverr alone. So there is business to be found there. You just need to find your personal sweet spot on Fiverr. And I challenge you to think outside the box. Like I said before, look at other users and see what they're doing. Try maybe a title that is similar or tags that are similar, but try to be a little bit different. Maybe choose a different adjective. Maybe choose a different pricing structure. You never really know what's going to work and what's not going to work. So that is my rant today. Don't lose hope in the freelance marketplaces. They do work. They do take a little bit of work and a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and maybe a little frustration. But once you can figure out your sweet spot, it is definitely worth it to be there. It's definitely worth all of that time, trial and error. That's pretty much all I had for you today. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to know any more about me, my work, or how I can help you get started in voiceover, please visit my website at voiceoverangela.com. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.